On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast,
descended from a witch,
possessed by a demon,
house full of doilies.
No wonder Lizzie Borden had serial killer eyes. Let's do this.
I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And this week's season 11, episode 5, Thin Lizzy.
It is indeed. What have you been up to?
Like nothing exciting. Oh, I'll tell you that. I went and got a massage and a facial with my sister to cap off her birthday celebrations. And I went to Bastille Day in Oak Cliff. They celebrated. It's a little street festival. It's pretty fun. And that's about it. That's all I got. My brother got cats. Yay! Everybody likes animal pictures, so that's always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Nothing crazy here. And you?
Just the usual rewatching TV shows. I was rewatching Miracle Workers, and I realized during the Oregon Trail one, Quinta Brunson and other short actresses, I really dislike watching them on screen, because then I realize because that's how I look to other people, because I'll see them like standing next to like a tall person, and I'm like, that looks fucking ridiculous, and I'm like, shit. We're the same. That's how I look standing next to that person. I look fucking ridiculous. Like, don't you kiss that tall man? That looks dumb. And I'm like, oh man. Like, that's exactly how I fucking look. So that was my main takeaway from this weekend as I was rewatching Miracle. Besides the fact that Daniel Radcliffe is a fucking genius in that. And it's just, it's such an amazing show. And I'm sad that it ended, but it needed to end when it did. I guess speaking of that, like those type of things, the Emmy Award nominations just came out, and none of our people from the show got anything. They're What We Do in the Shadows, they get nominated for Best Comedy, and they got a writing nod, but no actors. Boo. So I didn't really give a fuck about the rest of the nominations. But at least, hopefully, fingers crossed that What We Do in the Shadows gets, some nod. And I guess in SPN land, Jensen's getting ready for the new VOT that should be coming out. I think it's coming out in August. So that press is starting. So we're getting more Jensen stuff.
Yeah. I say rewatching. I'm not rewatching, but you mentioned Quinta Brunson. Remind me, because we've been watching Abbott Elementary, but then we're rewatching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is. It's a show about terrible people. I mean, everybody knows that, but it's pretty funny
they're too bad. They're too terrible.
Well, what I have learned is that it's a show that you don't want to like leave on in the background randomly or try to sleep to, because it's very chaotic with a lot of yelling. It's disruptive.
A lot of yelling, and sometimes yelling words that you probably don't want in the background, and other things that are just chaotic. It's a lot. And I was watching this show that's like a ripoff of Found, or I don't know if Found ripped it off, and it's called like Alert or something. It's about like people who are like go missing in Philadelphia, and having lived in Philadelphia, I'm like, that is not what this town looks like. And like, unless Philadelphia got really cleaned up in the past like few years, but so probably not. But anyhow,
I mean, everything else I'm watching is straight trash, even to the point where like Dave's like, no. So when Babe's like, no, I can't watch this with you, it's bad.
No, there is nothing on right now. I think it is just like it's rewatch time. I think everyone's just going back through. I finished Parks and Rec. I'm rewatching. There's one more season of Miracle Workers I put off. I'm rewatching Harley Quinn, because that show is fucking brilliant. And I also didn't like realize how brilliant it was until I was about 2 seasons in. I was like, so rewatching the first ones of that. And yeah, I think that's it. So, speaking of other television, so this television show, Supernatural.
Yeah.
So this episode was called Thin Lizzy, which is a reference to one of the best Irish rock bands that ever came out. Had with frontman Phil Lynott, the band Thin Lizzy, and they're also doing a play off of Lizzie Borden, who coincidentally has the same birthday as Jared Padalecki, and that is July 19th. So that will be the day after this drops, will be Mr. Padalecki's birthday and Miss Borden. So celebrate together.
Double.
Yeah, I was looking for something on Thin Lizzy to do for lore on this, but there just wasn't. They're a great band and they did a lot of drugs and they fucked a lot and they did that stuff. But who has it, right? So if you have a really good Thin Lizzy story, send it to me. So this was season 11, episode 5, and it first aired November 4th, 2015. It was directed by Rashad Ernesto Green, who we last saw direct season 10, episode 17, Inside Man. And it was written by Nancy One. And this was Nancy's first episode. She joined Supernatural this season. Before that, she worked with Robbie Thompson on Reign and Jericho and the sci-fi show Being Human, which was produced by Jeremy Carver. And then she would go on to work with him on Frequency after this. After that, she also went to do work on Jessica Jones, Little Fires Everywhere, Americana, and Tiny Beautiful Things. And then she was an executive producer and writer on the Rashida Jones show, Sunny, which I hadn't heard of. It follows Susie, an American woman living in Japan, and Sunny, a domestic robot made by her husband's company, as they uncover the dark truth of what really happened to Susie's husband and son, who disappeared in a mysterious plane crash.
What?
As far as I can tell, it only had one season. But there was a robot and Rashida Jones and a plane crash in Japan. So now I kind of want to watch this because it sounds insane.
It does.
It does. Yeah. So that's Nancy. So she wrote this, and we start off with the full moon outside a window in Fall River, Massachusetts, and I know exactly where that is. But so we start there,
and we've got a young couple in a haunted hotel who immediately make a Ghostfacers reference, which I appreciate.
They did, which does imply that they may have gotten back together and Ghostfacers may live on.
What? Oh. Well, he's trying to set the mood. Dude is trying to set the mood, and because they definitely want to see a ghost. So he's going to turn on the record player. The lights are going to flicker.
It's a gramophone to make it extra creepy. And it is playing this fucking Daisy song that I hate because it gets stuck in my head.
Daisy Bell by Harry LeCrae and Mark Gasparo. Well,
it's the lights are flickering. Song.
The lights are flickering. It's super, super creepy. Lights are flickering and they turn off completely. And this chick is super nervous, rightfully so. She's not into this, and he's teasing her. And then a door opens on its own. And I'm just going to tell you that my eyes are covered at this point because I am prepared for a jump scare. And I don't love a jump scare or a super creepy ghosty thing.
So yeah, but if your eyes are covered, then you can't see that he has put his fists up because he's going to punch the ghost.
He's going to punch a ghost. Well, you've seen when I put my hands over my eyes, I peek between my fingers because can't not see. But
I've also heard little children on ghost hunts saying they're going to punch the ghost, which I think is adorable. So that's what I think of. Punch the ghost. So he turns around and he's just going to blow it off. But something is behind her.
No, don't love this.
And it has an axe and it gives her a whack.
Yeah. So she gets axed in the back and he tries to run, but he can't open his own privacy chain on the hotel room door.
I think what it is not, he's just panicking. He's panicking. He's filled with adrenaline. He pulls the door and doesn't realize that it's still chained.
But we do get a really, really cool shot. Gold star for how this is shot because we don't see him get struck, but it's clear he does by the blood splatter. And then we just see the sliver of his face through the cracked door as he slides down. I appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a good death. And we also, and we can also see that the door has a sign on it that says Lizzie's room. Mm-hmm. And then after he got his whack and slid down the doorway, there was also a hanger on the door that said Lizzie Borden's bed and breakfast.
And museum.
And museum. Oh, there's no and. It's just Lizzie Borden's bed and breakfast museum.
Yeah. So now we know where we are. All right. Sam and Dean are in the bunker. And they are continuing to research the darkness.
The darkness. And Sam thought he'd found something, but it was just a town of people that had been eating rabid possum meat. Then Dean talked shit on possums.
And they're wrong because possums can't get rabies.
That is also true. They cannot.
That's the whole thing. And then Dean says that they're rats, but they're not. And Sam's wrong about rabid, but it's correct that they're marsupials.
Yeah.
So
I was going to wear a new possum shirt I got tonight that says feral girl, like feral summer, something like that. And it has a possum screaming, but it's still in my dryer.
Well, Sam's like, well, so that wasn't a case, but this axe murder might be. At this tourist trap, Lizzie Borden's actual house from 1892, when she was accused of hacking up her dad and stepmom. She was acquitted, but lived basically being shunned by her entire community for the rest of her life.
Well, and he's trying to explain to Dean why this is so cool. And Dean's just like, this is like a tourist trap, like, whatever. It's probably just a psycho fan. And Sam's like, no, it was locked up. Like, there was no witnesses, no intruders. And then Dean's just like, it's your freaky serial killer fetish, and you always wanted to see that house.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, Dean. 2 people are dead at Lizzie Borden's house.
I'm with Dean. But I feel it.
That would be amazing. Oh my God, the true crime shit that would like pop up if somebody died at fucking Lizzie Borden's house. Oh my God.
Geez.
So it's like the Annabelle doll dude dying. Like, oh my God. It's just, oh.
I know. Just adds to the lore. No, people are dead. It's sad. And so Sam's like, no, this is actually a murder. And by the way, the Borden clan's all buried there, so it would make sense to be a case. And they're like, fine, I guess we can go. What the fuck is Cass doing? What is Cass doing?
He's binge watching The Wire.
So they're gonna go without him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got to season 2. He's got a lot to go. So many people are going to die. All right, so we have
no idea how much time has passed, but we are now in Baby, and Baby is in perfect condition.
You know, there's nothing else to do in that garage but rebuild a car. So
those parts take a while to get in, man. That's okay.
He has a bunker full of magic. He probably just pulled
magic parts.
Pull parts from the other cars. So yeah, so he pulls up in front of the B&B.
Yes, and they are going to go poke around this museum and shop, basically. And there's a guy on the phone who's kind of like innkeeper, whatever word you want to use.
He's a hotel clerk, and he's dressed in Victoria's style. And in this museum, there's Lizzie Borden paraphernalia and other like spooky stuff everywhere. There's a framed axe on the wall. Now we learn that Lizzie Borden also has gotten her own doll with crazy eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this guy is explaining, he's on the phone, talking to assumed to be a future guest, explaining that there is no longer a crime scene and the room has been cleaned. And because I guess people are canceling their reservations.
And I don't think that is what would happen. I think that if you had Lizzie Borden fans who wanted to stay in that house and then you told them there was a murder, they would do what Sam and Dean are about to do.
Yeah, and after this guy gets off the phone, Sam's like, do you think it was a ghost? And Dean's like, do you think it was a crazed fan? And the guy's like, I think those are great questions for our paying guests.
And just when Sam's about to pay him, an angry woman comes out, also in Victorian garb, and she is super pissed because he didn't cancel the bakery order, and they're going to have $200 worth of Danish.
Well, Sam and Dean will make a little dent in that, but they're probably not eating $200 worth of Danish.
I could polish off $200 worth of Danish.
Well, he's like, anyway, so Mason is this guy's name, we've learned, because his mom was yelling at him. And Dean commiserates with him about working with family. And then Mason explains that they're also not renting out the room that the murders happened in.
Well, and he seems surprised that Sam wants it. And again, you're working at the fucking Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah, how are you surprised by this?
How are you surprised by this at all?
Is it an act? Is he like, oh, you want to?
He just wants the money. Like, does he want?
Oh, we have to pay extra for that.
But I don't feel like he's doing that. I feel like he's like, why do you want to stay in the murder room? Person who is at the Lizzie Borden house,
right? It's very weird. But anyway, so yeah, I'm like, no, you know, all these people are creepers. Come on, they want to stay in the murder room. Anyways, so Dean gives him some money. They get a key, and then Sam starts asking questions. And the night of the murders, Mason did not hear anything until he heard the screams. When he went up, he saw the blood, and the couple were local kids, and the guy was a descendant of the original Bordens.
Oh, so he was in their family line, but not descended from Lizzie because Lizzie didn't have any children, neither did her spinster sister. So in the room, this is, I'm going to stay in my first Airbnb next week, and I am really afraid this is what's going to happen.
It's going to be a floral mess.
The floral mess. And at least they get a small bathroom. I have to share a bathroom with people.
You're not staying in Airbnb. You're staying like an old school actual
I'm staying in a B&B for the first time.
Ooh,
I've stayed in
that's why I was like, we've stayed in Airbnb.
Yeah.
This is your first actual
B&B. Yeah.
The shared bathroom always stresses me out. I've never stayed in one because of that. But
I'm only staying in it for a few days, and then I'm moving to then I'm going to an Airbnb.
I hope they have Danishes for you.
I hope there's a cat. I don't think this hotel has a cat.
Ooh.
They usually say if they do.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're in the doily room, and there's only one bed. And Sam does not want to give up this room for any reason because it was Lizzie's room.
For sure, he's into it. So. Yeah, so if anybody's going to leave, Dean needs to get another room, and that's it. But Dean and Sam Sam's going to have his EMF reader out and talks about how there's been reports of sounds of crying and footsteps and the lights flickering. So,
ghost stuff.
Yeah, ghosty stuff. He examines the room. Dean's examining the room. The mint green bathroom is kind of adorable. Just saying. And but the room does smell like lavender toilet water, apparently.
And Dean doesn't he was like, why would you get water out of the toilet? And then why do you keep spraying it?
Very ridiculous scene. So Dean leaves. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. Sam is going to wander around the house with the EMF reader because there's no other guests because of the murder.
Yes, that's the thing. That's why the mom was mad because they have all the Danish and put it canceled.
So weird. But the EMF reader kind of goes bonkers. It goes like 0 to 100. It's just kind of like not. And so he's trying to follow where it's leading him. And he goes down this hallway, goes through the staff only door because of course he does. Picking the lock, looks at it while being watched by a portrait of Lizzie because there's creepy portraits of her everywhere.
There are.
And while he's doing that, Dean's down the lobby museum area walking around.
And he reads a Lizzie Borden brochure, and on the flyer, the address of it is the actual real-life address of the Lizzie Borden house.
Oh, is it? That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Details. But the lights flicker while he's there. So he inspects the light fixture first. And then he sees a flash because someone is outside taking flash photographs with a large format camera, like a old school large format camera. He tries to wave at them and they run away. But Sam's in the attic where I'm like nervous because I don't want to get a jump scare because he's in the attic. Because that's where that stuff happens.
Typically, yeah, those things happen in the attic.
But he doesn't find a ghost. He finds this giant machine that is an EMF generator. Homemade.
Uh-oh.
Huh. That's weird. So he goes back to the room where Dean meets him and he tells Dean what he found. And Dean's like, that's fun. Guess what I found? And he found timers in the walls to make the lights flicker. And behind portraits were speakers for a sound system that had recordings of crying, footsteps, whispers, and a toilet flushing.
That they don't know why, but it also doesn't explain how the murderer got in and out of a locked house. But Dean wants to get out of there and go discuss it over a lobster roll.
I don't blame him. I always want to go do that, you know. So no shade there. No shame in that one. And he refers to the room as a doily coffin, which is dark and sad and funny. So while they go to do that, we see they've left to go eat. We see Mom walking around the lobby, turning everything off. And as we go past, we see in the background that the axe that was in the display on the wall is missing. It
is missing. And then she goes into her bedroom, and then she gets whacked.
She gets axed. I was thinking about this. So it's not, you don't get stabbed with an axe, right?
You get whacked. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks.
Is that the technical term?
You get whacked.
Okay. Whacked or axed or
you get whacked with an axe.
Anyways,
you get sliced, you get decapitated, you can get cut, you can get,
Stabbed just doesn't feel right with an axe.
It's not stabbed. So you get stabbed with a knife.
Because stab is more like pointy.
Yeah, you can get sliced. I mean, technically you'd probably get stabbed, but like you'd have to be a horizontal movement of the axe.
Things this show makes me ponder.
I think where people got hit on the head with the axe part that actually got not stabbed, sliced, axed,
sliced,
waxed. So she's whacked, and then the crime scene unit of Falls River, Massachusetts arrives. Yes. And they're like, we're not fucking this shit up at the Borden house again.
No, our detective
we have Madsen, a history of doing that.
Detective Madsen is like, thank you, FBI. I will tell you whatever. Let's do this. Like, come on. And Sam introduces himself as Agent Collins. Mason, the innkeeper son guy, is like, he's just really mad that they were FBI and they weren't there when his mom got murdered. Which I kind of get. That kind of sucks.
I mean, like, what? You're a fucking bed and like, and
where the fuck were you? And they left, and then my mom got murdered. That's fucked up. But Dean's checking EMF quietly in the corner, and there's a whole lot of nothing. So while that's happening, Dean's like, or the detective tells Sam that like mom locked up. There was no one else there. Which also, like, what were they just gonna like I guess they get a key to let themselves back in if they were staying there? But
yeah, I mean, I assume that's what happens in a hotel, right? You get like some way to get into there, or you have to like let the landlady know that you're going to be coming late, and then she'd be like, "Why are you boys out so late?" And then you
troublemakers,
yeah. And then Dean would flirt with her, and then that's what happened. Anyhow, so
Dean's like, by the way, Dean's like, by the way, this guy, there's some dude taking pictures outside earlier, and the detective's like, oh yeah, I know him. He's harmless. He's just obsessed with Lizzie Borden. We went to high school together. It's fine. He just likes ghosts.
Yeah, he was nice and quiet. And so, but also since we have Agent Gabriel and Agent Collins, we now have the band Genesis. So, so we've learned about Lynn, and then when Sam asks the cop if ghosts are a problem, the cop says, "Not if you ask the Chamber of Commerce, they will tell you absolutely."
Which is hilarious because it's like, oh, okay, tourism dollars. All right. So Sam and Dean are driving, and they're discussing the fact there's been no evidence of ghosts yet. And Sam's like, maybe it's actually a straight up serial killer, which is a good point. And as they're driving, the detective calls Sam because they have another victim miles away from the house now.
Uh-oh.
So they decide Sam's going to go check that crime scene while Dean goes and talks to Len, the Lizzie Borden ghost-obsessed dude, photographer. Oh, so at this house, we've got our babysitter, Sydney, and apparently she was home with this kid and found Dad dead in the driveway. He got axed. And Sam's like, trying to ask her questions while this kid just sits there. Jordy's just like kind of zoned out. And then a woman enters and Mom. So the kid runs over and she asks the sitter if her child saw anything. And instead of being concerned, she tells Sam to get out. Has no interest in answering any questions. Just tell him to leave.
Yeah, no, she's very, very angry that he wants to ask her questions. So we're all like, oh, what does this woman have to do with things?
Super sus. Yeah. Well, Dean is at Len's place. And his place is full of Lizzie Borden stuff. Like a messier version of the museum. Yes, messier, and more cluttered version of the museum.
A cluttered version, but he's got like a Lizzie Borden life-size mannequin, and he says that he is just living his bliss.
Yeah, and apparently the camera that he was using is what the Victorians would use to try to capture photos of spirits. And because he thinks he has seen Lizzie before as a wispy gray figure, but he's never been able to capture her on film.
Yeah, so for the most part, the spiritualists, when he says Victorians, or when the spiritualists were doing spirit photography, they were just using normal cameras, and a lot of times that was just double exposures or things like that. And there have been certain cameras that were supposed to be spirit cameras, but they were all just fucking cameras. Like there was never like.
Well, the technology wasn't there for that much of a variety of camera at that time, too.
Well, no, but there is a whole line of spirit photography. Like, it becomes like this thing, and then like there's like courts and stuff about like spirit photographs. But anyways, but that camera was just a normal fucking camera. Anyways, but he says that he has seen Lizzie, and she is a wispy gray shadow, but she doesn't normally show up on camera. However, he can't really be at her place because there may be a minor restraining order. And there may be a gag order about that restraining order. And anyways, I mean, it was Lizzie's 155th birthday, and he couldn't get her bedroom.
Well, and Dean's clearly a federal agent, so of course he can tell him.
Yeah, and he couldn't get her bedroom, so then he just stayed in her basement, for like a day or two or a couple of weeks.
That's all. No big
deal. That's it. He just was hiding in the basement of the Lizzie Borden house. What is wrong with that?
Len. This is very wrong. Yeah, but the only odd thing recently was getting spotted by Dean. And then as he's sharing this, an alert goes off on his computer because apparently it is time for him to host his regular Lizzie Borden web chat specifically about these murders.
But he's not Lizzie CNN.
No, he's busy. It's too much pressure.
No.
Well, we've got our detective is talking to Sam outside of the house where the dad was killed, saying, look, this is 4 murders in a couple days with no leads. The town is freaking out. And Sam's like, yeah, Mrs. Pinsky didn't seem really upset about her husband's death. So, and the detective's like, it could be shock. Let's not jump to conclusions because people have, quote, freaky ass reactions to loss.
Which is not a great way of saying that, but also it's true. People go into shock
so like,
when,
It's like, that's not, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He could, but I guess cop
I was amused by his wording.
Yes. So then we get back to Lynn's.
Mm-hmm. Because Dean has now spotted a sketch of the mark on the back of an envelope. Ruh-roh indeed. Because that's not good. Len lies badly when he asks what it is. Trying to say he saw it on a ghost paranormal site. Bullshit. And then finally admits that he was outside Lizzie's a few nights ago and he saw a girl who wanted to see where Lizzie axed her folks. Who was this little girl?
It's Amara.
No, it's the darkness. And so Len's
the
like,
little darkness.
Yeah. Well,
the tweeny darkness.
Tween darkness. And so Lynn's like, oh, yeah, like, she's like, her parents were the worst. He's like, oh, yeah, but really, Andrew Borden was probably the one that did it, da-da-da-da. And then he's like, fuck, this chick's real young. I probably don't need to be standing, like, outside at night with this young girl talking about murders.
Right. But Amara is also disagreeing with him about Lizzie's uncle being the murderer, because Lizzie definitely hacked them, because Lizzie had serial killer eyes. So Lizzie Borden was actually mentioned in the show in season 8, episode 22 clip show. And in that episode, Dean did find a file in the bunker that said Lizzie had been possessed by a demon, and the Men of Letters had documented that. So we know that Lizzie Borden did kill her parents, but she was possessed by a demon. So we're going to talk about some lore. Because there have been many theories about the Borden murders, not necessarily that it was a demon, but that it was Lizzie's weird uncle John. That was something that has definitely been talked about. And however, we're not going to follow that thread. What we're going to do is follow John's family tree back in time to the 1600s and meet his ancestors, and therefore Lizzie's ancestor, Elizabeth Morse, who was, a spoiler alert, convicted of being a witch. That is right. Lizzie Borden is descended from a convicted witch. Dun, dun, dun. So it is the year of 1679, and we are in Newport, now known as Newbury, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The town is full of Puritans with six up their asses who have a hardcore belief in witches. The shoemaker William and his wife Elizabeth Morse, both in their 60s, although Elizabeth is said to be a little bit older, lived in their modest farmhouse with their 10-year-old grandson John. Now, this farmhouse, according to William and Elizabeth, have been suffering from what we today would probably associate with poltergeist activity. Sticks and stones were thrown against the house by unseen hands. A hog appeared in the house at night after the doors were locked. Yeah, there was a pig.
That would be upsetting.
That is very upsetting.
Okay, lights up, that's annoying. Doors, annoying. But a pig showing up in the middle of the night?
A pig shows up in the middle of the night.
I wouldn't sleep well.
Yeah. Tools would disappear and reappear. Things came down the chimney. A tray with wool on it just leapt up and down. A woolen wheel was turned upside down and stood on its end, and then a spade was put upon it. When trying to make the bed, a chest would open and shut, and then the bedclothes would stay on the bed, and they kept flying off. And then also, in addition to that, poor 10-year-old John had been suffering from fits and seizures. So the Morses had a neighbor, the navigator Caleb Powell, who boasted that by looking at the stars, he could tell you exactly where his vessel was. He also had an idea what was causing the problem at the Morses, and suggested to William that maybe if he eased up on John and let him play outside more, it would help his health. Additionally, the townfolk were starting to whisper that all the stuff that was happening at the Morses' house was Elizabeth's fault, and she was a witch and she was cursing her own house. Caleb then assured the Morses that he knew that Elizabeth was not a witch, and if he could take John for the day, their troubles would be over. Caleb came and took John at the break of day, kept him until night, and no activity occurred at the Morses. The Morses then came to the obvious conclusion: Caleb was a wizard.
Obviously.
So the Morses reported the incident to the authorities, and Caleb Powell was arrested on December 8th, 1879. 1679, not 18. So he did not travel in time. He was in 1679. So side notes on the court at the time. So the courts in the colony operated within a 3-tier system, generally based on the severity of the crime, with appeals allowed from the lower to the higher courts. Okay. Lower courts handling civil matters, petty crimes. Those were heard by a commissioner, a justice of the peace, or a municipal court. The county courts, the next ones up, were operated as circuit courts, and they met quarterly in Cambridge, Boston, Ipswich, Salem, Springfield, and York, which is now Maine. These were served by magistrates appointed by the general courts. They heard civil cases of things not exceeding 10 pounds, as well as criminal cases, except those that would be punishable by banishment, because that was the thing that happened in the colony. Like, they just would sit you out to the just go banish away.
You can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us. Loss of life or loss of limb, because that was also a limb was a punishment. The next court level was a greater quarter court, comprising the governor, deputy governor, and 12 assistants, also known as the Court of Assistants. They met twice a year to hear the criminal cases punishable by loss of life or limb, divorces, and civil cases above the county court's pay grade, as well as any appeals from the lower courts. All right, so back to the witches. Caleb Powell being complained of for suspicion of working with the devil to the molesting of William Morse and his family, had a warrant issued for his arrest. The case to be prosecuted at the county court in Ipswich in the coming March. He did have to pay a security of £20 or go to prison until then. During the trial, several witnesses came forth and testified against Caleb. John Badger affirmed that Caleb said he thought by astrology, and I think by astronomy too with it. So he thought he could see things by the stars. And he said he could find out if diabolical means were used against the Morses. Thomas Rogers and George Hardy said they saw dirt in the chimney of the Morses' move. Rogers was hit with something, and a ladle hit Hardy, and they saw a shoe hit William. Mr. Richardson had a board fly against his chair and heard a diabolical noise in the other room. Anthony Morse, William's brother, also saw some stuff in the house. John Dole saw a pin and stick of candlewood fall at a stone. Woo, but he couldn't see where they came from. Elizabeth Titcomb stated that Caleb claimed he could identify a witch if only he had another scholar with him, a claim that was affirmed by two other witnesses. Two other witnesses claimed that Caleb told them that he saw a boy, John, throw the shoe. Emerson came and testified that Caleb was brought up in Norwood, and it was well known that the people in Norwood studied the black arts.
I mean, clearly.
Sarah
it's
Hale.
Those Norwood people.
Of those Norwood people. Take this into my testimony here, dear court. You should note this for the record. Sarah Hale, 33, and Joseph Merrick testified that Joseph Morse, the boatswain of Caleb's ship, had often said in their hearing, if there were ever any wizards, he was sure Caleb Powell was one.
Just sitting around announcing that. Okay.
Yeah. And Mary Tucker, 20, deposed that Caleb told her he broke the enchantment at the Morse's house, for he saw the boy throw a shoe at William's head. And Mary Richardson affirmed this. When it came time for Caleb to take the stand, he explained that one day he was walking by the Morse's house, saw William in prayer with his eyes closed, and then saw his grandson John come into the room and throw a shoe at his head. This wasn't witchcraft. This was an asshole of a kid. So the court then determined,
he was just a little shit.
He was a little shit. So the court, though, determined that although not guilty, Caleb was suspicious enough that he had to pay the court costs and ought to bear his own shame just for being so suspicious.
Just for being a little shit.
No, not John. No, not the child. Caleb.
Caleb's
the navigator.
He
had for telling people that he could figure out who a witch was, and for using astrology to navigate his boat. You have to pay the court fines. Yeah. So they did that, and he was set free. And for the people, though, this would not do. They knew there still must be a witch somewhere, and it's got to be that old woman, Elizabeth. After all, none of these attacks targeted her. She was the village nurse, and she had two daughters who gave birth out of wedlock. So clearly she was cavorting with Satan. Obviously. So after Caleb's release gave all the evidence that showed how much the town Ipswich loved witches, Therefore, the grand jury returned a bill of indictment to try Elizabeth by the Court of Assistants, which was sitting up in Boston, a town known for hating witches. I just made that last part up. But okay, so she was, probably not wrong. So she was indicted for having familiarity with the devil, contrary to the peace of our sovereign Lord, the King, and the laws of God. Now, Elizabeth may have had some issues with her neighbors because 17 came forward to testify, reasons that it was obvious she was a witch.
Oh.
Reasons such
she was
as...
not making friends.
She was not, as the nurse, she was not making friends. So a neighbor argued with Elizabeth, and then his cow would not let its calf nurse. Sheep just wandered onto the Morses' property because clearly Elizabeth was luring them there with her sorcery. After Elizabeth argued with Zechariah Davis about some fowl, one of his calves danced and roared, then sat up upon its tail like a dog, and then it died. Later. John Chase said Elizabeth came into his bedroom through a tiny hole. Mrs. John Wells saw the imp of God in the Morses' house. A man saw half of Elizabeth's body walking through the town during the day. James Brown struck a cat that was pestering him, and then a bruise appeared on Elizabeth's leg in the same spot where he kicked the cat.
Why was he looking at her leg?
Why was he kicking a cat?
Well, too.
So Elizabeth went to nurse a sick child, and then she told the child's mother the child was probably going to die. And then it did. And finally,
that just sounds like she was being a nurse, but okay.
She was just like, your kid's going to die. And then it did. But that was magic. And finally, good wife Chandler became ill after a visit from Elizabeth. She nailed a horseshoe above her door to keep Elizabeth out. But another neighbor who probably thought this too was witchcraft took down the horseshoe. Then Elizabeth came back. Then good wife Chandler died. So, with all of this, of course, Elizabeth was convicted. Clearly. On May 27th, the governor gave her the death sentence. Elizabeth, you were to go from hence to ye place from which you came, and thence to the place of execution, and there to be hanged by ye neck till you be dead, and ye, Lord, have mercy on your soul. But then on June 1st, the governor and the assistants decided that she should be reprieved until the next time the court had a session in Boston. Then the court had a session in Boston, and she was again approved. Then, that started making some of the other, the House of Deputies were like, why aren't you hanging this witch? What is going on? Right. So she's in prison for a year. William is petitioning
and she's old, right?
She's old. She's in her late 60s at this point. William is petitioning for a new trial or just something, some form of closure, right? Can we do something?
Yeah.
The House of Deputies voted for her to have a new trial, but the magistrates didn't want to comply with that. Then William called for a council of clergymen to come and examine her, and they reported that her discourse was very Christian. She still pleaded her innocence, and while they didn't think it prudent to pass a sentence on her, they were inclined to be charitable. So Elizabeth was finally released to her house, but forbidden to travel more than 16 rods from her property without a pastor or a deacon, because who knows what she could do with her devilishness. And the Reverend Hale then come to her on her deathbed and said she was troubled and had a darkness of spirit. And they're like, yo, is it the witchcraft? And she's like, no, I got really impatient and cursed the Lord's name while I was in prison. I'm afraid I'm going to go to hell for that. So they're like, yeah, we don't think she's a witch. So she died because she'd been in prison. And that was even really a prison because it's a colony in fucking New England that's been around for 40 years. It was probably just really some... Shitty. Yeah, it was probably just some bricks and whatever. So she was an old lady, so she fucking died. And so, but her asshole of her little grandson went on to have more children and never faced any consequences. But through those asshole children, we do have, Lizzie Borden and Samuel Morse, the guy who did the Telegraph. And there's actually a lot of famous Morses. There's a Morse Society, and they put a plaque up on a building on Market Square in Newbury where they believe the Morse's house once stood. So this was about 10, 12 years before Salem. So this was the first witch in Massachusetts that was convicted and sentenced. She was sentenced to death, but she did not die of execution because she just
died
in her house.
In prison. Well, after being in prison.
But probably if this hadn't happened, she probably would have, So, and they're also saying during that time in Newbury, there was like the town was split because half the town wanted, like, were backing like some reverend's play for power, and the other half wanted like the church to be run by like a bunch of other people. So, like, and Elizabeth and her husband were on one side, and the people that accused them were on the other. So,
what? This might have been slightly political? Crazy.
What? Are you kidding? So. But I mean, also though, like, these people still really believed in witches, right? So that's kind of like, you could still be convicted for being, like, and like, and they're like, there's not a witch here, but it's clearly a kid like throwing a shoe at. I saw the kid throw a shoe, right? Yeah. But then they're like, no, so must be a witch. So we don't want to live in the 1600s Massachusetts Bay Colony. Thank you. Yeah. So, but anyways, I thought that was an interesting thread of Lizzie Borden. And if you want to learn more about Lizzie Borden, there are thousands of podcasts and podcasters who have stayed at the Lizzie Borden house and recorded all of their spooky ookiness that has happened there. Interesting. And you too can go stay there if you want. Oh. But it's a bed and breakfast.
You know I don't like haunted places. Come on now.
I'm just like, it's got a lot.
I say that as someone that works in haunted places, but it's fine.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have now know that Amara has looked at Len's with her serial killer eyes. Oh yeah. And then we go back to the present where Dean's like, Len's, why didn't you tell anybody?
And he's like, because I have a restraining order. I'm not supposed to be on this property, and I'm talking to a 12-year-old in the middle of the night. That's super sus.
Yeah, no one's gonna be like, so you were talking to a 12-year-old girl about murder?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
At a place on a property you're not supposed to be on? Yeah. Super, super sus. So, but he noticed her birthmark, and that's what he drew. But Dean is caught on the fact that he said that she's 12. Because Dean
her name is Amara. He's like, what the fuck? Like, you have Amara and she's 12?
Yeah. Because he's shocked that she's that old already. And Len's like, well, she's probably a little younger, but yeah, she's close to that. And so Len wants to know
honestly,
why.
I would have no idea how old that child was. I'd be like, she's 7? 15?
No, I would be rough. I mean, I would know a rough, like somewhere between 9 and 13.
I would say tweeny, right? I would like, she looks tweeny.
She does. Tweeny. But Dean tells Len that she's just a runaway and wants to know if she's still in town. And Len's like, I don't know, but I need to find her. And you won't believe me. Why? And it's apparently we get another flashback to Amara eating Len's soul at the house.
Nom, 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 nom.
But Len doesn't know that's what happened. He doesn't know what Amara did to him. But since that night, he hasn't been right. He can't eat. He can't sleep. Things he used to love just kind of feel cold. He put his collection on sale.
You fucking machinist in Ohio that caught the Lizzie Borden sale that the soulless guy like freaked out and like sold for nothing.
Mm-hmm. And basically he's just like playing the part. Like he doesn't really feel any of the things he's doing. He just knows how he's supposed to act and what he's supposed to like. So he's just doing that. He's going through the motions, and playing the part until even though he doesn't feel feelings. So he went to go look for Amara, but hasn't seen her. And he knows that he's had a life and friends, but now he just feels like a puppet man or a robot with
robot puppet man.
Robot puppet man.
Which it does sound like a band.
It does.
Or please come here when you hear a robot puppet man. Mm-hmm. So we go back to the crime scene, and Dean has called Sam, who is gagging over the news that Amara is 12 and ate Len's soul.
Yeah. So they have to meet up, and they know that Len is not the murderer, but he is kind of sort of a witness. And Dean's like, so basically we have to kill Len now. And Sam's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're supposed to save him. And Dean's like, oh yeah, that's the new thing we're doing. That's right. It's really
and Sam gets the same look on his face that we all get when you're like, no, saving people, hunting things, that was the first part of the bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Dean. All right. So, but Dean also thinks that Sam should be the one to fill Lynn in about his soul being hoovered because Sam has been there and he can do it in a sensitive way. And Sam's like, there isn't a sensitive way to tell somebody their soul has been sucked out by a psychotic tween.
Correct. And Sam's like, also the widow of this guy that got murdered was super fucking sus too. And Dean's like, oh, well, maybe
she's a right bitch. Like, I think she looks like a murderer. That's what Sam say.
Yeah. And Dean's like, maybe she doesn't have a soul either. And reminds him that Sam was, quote, one chilly droid when he didn't have a soul.
So we go from there back to Jordy's, and nobody's answering the door. So Sam calls a teenager, which always looks great. And so he calls the babysitter.
Sydney. Yeah. Not creepy.
Why do you have a teenager's phone number?
Well,
phone,
she does
Sam?
have tattoos. She does have tattoos. She's a young adult, but yes.
I know she seems teenagery, but I know.
Yeah. So Sydney, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe Dawn's with her special friend Nate." So apparently, Dawn has been having an affair. Is what the hint is here. So she's like, "I happen to know where Nate lives. Why don't you go to his house? Here's the address. Have fun." I just, So Sam.
Well, I just Sam has bullied her too. Like at this point, like we still think that she's a nice girl, and Sam is just like, young lady, you're in a murder investigation with the FBI. You can't mess with the feds. You gotta tell us. So that's why she tells us about special friend Nate.
Is that,
and
or is it why?
Is it why? Wait, so we go out to Nate's. Mm-hmm. And Lynn is in the back of the car.
And he's just rambling about things he no longer enjoys and ponders if he may have had a stroke or maybe he now has a brain tumor.
Like, I can see that, right? Like,
yeah. But he's also unbothered, even though things that he's not enjoying things he used to enjoy, but he's also unbothered by things that used to upset him. So it's like, I guess he's taking, not good and bad. I don't know.
He's just things that used to ick him out. Like, he's no longer it.
Yeah. Like shaking someone's sweaty hand. Now he's just down to lick it or any other body part.
Just lick that sweatiness. But so he feels though like something weird with dark wings is hatching inside of him.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good. And so Dean cuffs Len to baby and tells him that Amara sucked out your soul.
Yeah, because Lynn caught them giving each other side eye. And he was just like, "What are y'all talking about?" And he's like, okay, bye. You don't have soul. Bye."
And they just leave him there. Lynn's like, "I've got questions. How do I get it back?"
And Sam's like, "And you don't get it back. Bye."
We're gonna go inside this house now. Leaving you here. Okay. So Sam and Dean go to this house, and it looks like there's been some disheveled furniture inside. So of course they're gonna just break right in, and go in with guns. They pick the lock and they go in. And I just. Of course, Sam's wandering around searching the main floor, and of course Dean has to go to the fucking basement, so Diana has to cover her fucking eyes because we're in a dark basement where the light switch doesn't work.
Yep. But he also has a flashlight, and so he turns on the flashlight, and there's no jump scare for Diana. There is.
Well, I think there is. I still jump because I'm a fucking wuss.
Okay, well, there's a bunch of tools and chairs, and then behind the mattress are the dead bodies of Nate and Jordy's bitchy mom, who apparently was just a bitch.
Yeah, she was. She was not missing her soul. She was just a bitch. She was just not a good person.
As we'll learn, we don't know. We honestly don't know this about her, except for what we're going to find out. So she's dead. Dean gets hit with a shovel.
Yeah. And I note immediately this is too many jump scares in the dark because I did jump scare at the bodies, at someone watching Dean, and when he got hit. So it's 3 in one scene. Very short scene. You're welcome for being reminded of what a wuss I am. Sam upstairs now sees a closet door moving. So apparently somebody's trapped in the closet, and he opens it, and Jordy, the kid, is tied up there. And then Sydney's there with a shotgun too.
Uh-oh.
That's not great. So Sam wakes up tied up in the basement next to Dean, And Sydney is just glad that she didn't kill them. That's weird. Because it's all Sydney. And Dean, but she's also really glad she bagged them both. And Sam decides to make fun of Sydney, the killer babysitter.
Yeah, but she is keeping them as an offering to her new friend Amara.
Whee! Because a couple of nights ago, she got totally sloshed at Molly's hatchet room. Which the band performing that night was Bobby and the Bone Masters.
Nice.
Yeah. Amara stopped her in a parking lot. So she's wasted leaving the bar, trying to drive home. Not great. And a child approaches her in the parking lot to tell her she shouldn't drive. And then Sydney assumes that Amara's parents are not great in leaving people and left her in a parking lot to hang out while they went to a shitty bar.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened. Amara just likes hanging out with places where dark shit's going down.
Yeah, she just likes dark places. And so Sydney is like, hey, I'm going to give you my jacket and we're going to go inside. I may be drunk, but I'm not so drunk that I can't be like, oh, hi, 12-year-old here.
You can hang out,
yeah. And Amara's like, I'm going to help you.
And so she takes Sydney's hands and Sydney laughs and says she feels like it's ecstasy, orgasm, and chocolate cake.
Title of my next sex tape.
Amara is like an angel, and Amara is fucking offended that she has been called an angel.
Because she does not look like a whiny wing suck-up. No. And then she eats her soul, and it is quite traumatic.
Was that punishment for calling her an angel?
I think so. Because she was just like making her feel happy at first, and then she called her an angel, and then she ate her soul.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And Sydney asks what she is, and that's it. So she gets her soul eaten. Ta-da! So Sydney is telling Sam and Dean that, by the way, being with Amara was like total bliss. I like floating. It's good. Because I don't want memories. My parents treated me like a human ashtray. And she shows a very, very sad scene.
Well, I mean, because she's going through this, like, I don't have any of these bad things anymore. And Sam's like, but what about, don't you want good memories? And then she was like, look, fucktard, we don't all have good memories. And sometimes, like, we just want an eternal sunshine of the fucking, like, sometimes we just want to forget stuff. And so she, though, is very also happy that her Jiminy Cricket voice that tells her to not do things because it's wrong or you'll get caught has now gone quiet.
Yeah, that's concerning. Because now she just does what she wants. She doesn't have to worry about getting caught because it doesn't matter if she gets caught. She just doesn't care. And so she does confess the couple at the inn, she killed them because apparently that dude, it was his closing move. And I guess he had done that with her, or she was implied that that's what he does. He takes them to the fucking the haunted
Lizzie
room.
Borden house, and they get all scared, and then he does them while they're scared.
Yeah. So she did that on purpose. And then the mom apparently kept 2 weeks of her pay when she worked at the hotel or B&B a few years ago. Yeah. And so she used to fantasize about killing her. So now she's just living her dreams. And then Jordy's parents, well, the dad deals meth and mom's a slut. And so she's going to take better care of Jordy than they ever could. And he'll be better off.
Yikes. Yeah. So, yeah, Jordy's not going to have a good life. I'm just saying. So she, though, has been praying to Amara, and she can feel that she's close. And Dean wants her to come because she's like, we've been hunting for that bitch for weeks. And then then Sydney screams, she's a goddess.
Well, Sydney's going to shoot Sam because Sam has broken free. And who has arrived but Len? And Len axes Sydney. What? And so Sam takes the axe from him, and Sydney is on the ground twitching, saying that darkness is coming. So peaceful and loving for all of us.
Yeah, it's coming for all of us. So the darkness is coming. You promise? All right, it's going to be so nice and quiet. So we go out. Yeah, so that happens. And then we go outside. And Jordy is wrapped in a blanket, and Sam's asked him if he has any family he can stay with, and he's trying to empathize with them by telling him that his mom died when he was a baby, and his dad was kind of shitty, and, you'll survive. And Jordy's like, oh yeah, I've got this Aunt Kathy who comes at Christmas, who I'm pretty sure if Jordy's dad was a meth dealer, like, she kind of knows his phone call's coming and has just kind of been prepared for the day that she's going to
waiting.
This is not a surprising phone call for Aunt Kathy.
No, Aunt Kathy's ready. She's probably got a guest room ready to roll.
Yeah.
And Len is explaining to Dean how he ripped his hand out of the handcuff, not to help, but just to see if he could do it. And he picked up his thumb like a miniature hot dog.
And Dean is kind of disturbed about this, right?
Yeah.
But Len is also kind of just disturbed by himself, right? Because he's like, what does it mean when you can't feel anything when you murder somebody? Like, what kind of person can murder someone and not feel anything?
Well, and he says his brain wasn't even telling him to help. His brain told him to help, but not because he felt a feeling about it. He just was like, oh, my brain says I'm supposed to do this. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he remembers what you were supposed to do. Right.
But Dean reassures him a little bit. He's like, look, if you have a thread of conscience here, there might be hope after all, because you're not really, even if you're doing it just because you feel like you're supposed to, that's still kind of you're still doing the right thing. Something's telling you to do that. So Len's like, no, if I'm not stopped, I'm going to end up killing someone else. You should just kill me now. Otherwise, I think. But
Dean can't.
I'm going to turn myself in.
At least we have gotten to the point where Dean cannot just kill. Len has killed a person, right? And we had this earlier in the episode where Dean had said he hasn't killed anybody, so we can't kill him yet. And Sam's like, that's not the rules. The rules we're trying to save people, moron.
Correct.
So at least Dean, this seems to have sunk in.
Yeah. And so Len's new plan is he's going to turn himself in. He's going to confess to all the murders to get himself locked up. Because he remembers what it was like to do the right thing, and that's what he wants to do. So he's going to go through the motions, doing the right thing, as long as he can do that. It's kind of sad and sweet, and
it is sad.
upsetting.
And Dean has a sad face.
He does. It's kind of distressing, but it's an interesting take on the soulless. But Sam and Dean are going to go eat some burgers at a dock, and talk about it, because Dean cannot believe that Len just turned himself in, and Sam's like, well, I don't know. Everybody has a different reaction to losing their soul, though. But Sam gets a pit in his stomach thinking about the darkness and what's happening here. So.
Yeah. And so he asked Dean then they start talking about how everything is different versions of the darkness, right? How Sydney felt bliss around her. And he's like, Dean, what was it like for you? When you were inside the giant fart, did you feel bliss?
And he's like, it was quiet at first. Then now just the rate of growth and her sucking souls. I don't know. It might not be that hard to find. We just need to go. He's very I'm not really going to tell you how I feel about it.
Yeah.
It's it was really quiet, and then things kind of started happening, and now she's really grown up. We got to go find her. Bye.
Yeah, so their plan is to just follow the bodies that she's leaving in the wake as she is sucking souls to get stronger. And so she's leaving a bunch of bodies. She's probably not going to be that hard to find.
Yeah, and they drive away, and she wouldn't have been that hard to find because she was in the goddamn woods listening to them the whole time.
She was in the bushes like the Homer Simpson meme. She literally does the Homer Simpson meme and comes out of the bushes. She reverses the Homer Simpson meme, comes out, and then creepily waves and says, bye, Dean, I'll see you soon. Yeah. Which is just some creepy ass fucking child shit.
Yes.
Tween girls with obsessions, oh no, this is a horror story.
All bad.
So before we could go back to the conclusion of our latest tween serial killer girl, do we want to talk about the people who were acted in this lovely episode?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Weren't they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Sure. We've got a few folks. Len is played by Jared Gertner. He's been in episodes of Ugly Betty, How I Met Your Mother, Two Broke Girls, Modern Family, American Dad. A few times he did voice work. NCIS, 911 Lone Star. Also, he played Elder Cunningham in Book of Mormon on Broadway.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And they called him Little Jared when he was on the set.
Oh, that's funny. Sydney was played by Len? That was Len. Yeah? Little Jared?
Whoever's name was Jared. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Are there
Jared.
two Jareds?
Yeah, that's Jared. That's funny. Sydney was played by Tess Atkins. She's been in episodes of Continuum. She was Natalie in The Flash and Michelle in the Hallmark series Hannah Swanson. It's about 6 made-for-TV movies. There's a series, the Hannah Swanson series. Then Detective Madsen was played by Claude Knowlton. He's been in episodes of L Word, The Closer, Scandal, Young and the Restless, Rizzoli and Isles, Arrow, Criminal Minds, iZombie, New Girl, The Order, Supergirl, and The Good Doctor. He was the stage manager in the Lizzie McGuire movie. He was Clem Weatherby in Atlas Shrugged, who is John Galt, part of the series, and was the JPL director in Transformers: The Last Night. Dawn Pinsky was played by Tracy Powers. She was in episodes of Fall of the House of Usher, it's a recent series. And then Jordy.
We still haven't watched it. We can say every time. You need to watch that show.
Every time I do too.
Like, we're rewatching shows. There's nothing to watch. So watch the House of Usher.
I know. I think it's because it looks stressful. I'm not like
it just it looks like I have to be in a mood, and I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for.
Yeah. Jordy, ta-da, is played by Finn Wolfhard. Was Richie in It and It 2. It Chapter 2, excuse me. He was Rivers Cuomo in a Weezer video. Which is funny. He was the voice of Pugsley in the Addams Family movie in 2019. He was Trevor in Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And he is probably best known as a young actor for his role as Mike in Stranger Things.
Yeah, I told you he went on to not have a great... Weird things would happen to Jordy. Like, he went to the upside down. Like, shit went weird for Jordy.
Unpleasant.
You get a meth dad and you go in the upside down.
Gross. Pass.
And you get Winona Ryder for a mom.
Oh.
So, it's pretty awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think?
I enjoyed this episode a lot, even though I get distressed about the soulless stuff, because I feel like it did a really, really, really good job intersecting a concept of a monster of the week because of the Lizzie Borden tie-in and all of that, and the chick being the circle into the overarching story arc with the darkness. Yeah, that's my opinion. I can see why some people may not like that, because it's kind of like, oh, of course, it seems like it's kind of like almost too easy. That's the darkness, but I thought it was a cool way to do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
I was upset about it at the time when I watched it. After I thought about it, I liked it. Tom was like, of course it's the fucking darkness. And now I'm like, no, it's kind of cool. It's smart. I like it.
It's smart. It was, but it wasn't Lizzie Borden the whole time, because you were just like, of course it's going to be Lizzie Borden. Yeah. But Lizzie Borden was possessed by a demon.
I know. I forgot. You're right, though. I remember that now. Once you said that, I was like, no, I knew in the back of my head, I was like, they've mentioned Lizzie Borden before. So I was trying to remember that, but I didn't look it up.
But Sam doesn't bring that up the entire episode, which is weird. I think this is the Q&A. This is a Q&A at the con. So remember that time in season 11 where you had the episode about Lizzie Borden, and then you didn't bring up that in season 8 that they talked about in the minute letters,
right? So was Lizzie Borden actually possessed? And if so, why didn't y'all acknowledge it? And why did that impact the investigation? Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. I don't know. I love a Lizzie Borden, and so yeah. Alrighty, so y'all go read up more shit on Lizzie Borden on your own and find stuff. On that note, cheers, sir.
Cheers, sir.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Be a Dick production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.